Esther 6:12. Vayashov Mordecai el Sha'ar HaMelech, veHaman nidchaf el beto, avel v'chafui rosh. We get here next the resultant actions of these two men. So Mordecai here is the subject at the beginning, and Mordecai returned. Here's the call, imperfect third masculine singular of the root shuv. Now notice here we have this OU vowel here in the original root. This is a vav consecutive form, and what happens with the vav consecutive on these hollow roots is you'll get the accent that will retract to the preformative syllable. And so what happens then is this final syllable is left in a closed and unaccented position, which means the O vowel becomes short. So that indeed is a kametz hatuf, vayashov, vayashov. And you get the accent on that ya. So a little bit of morphology and phonology there for you. Mordecai is the subject, and Mordecai returned to the gate of the king, where he had been sitting anyway. So after all of these events, Mordecai returns back to the gate of the king. Next, we get the vav on the subject. Now notice the subject is fronted here, which indicates, I think, an adversative vav. But Haman. Let me focus him for a second and tell you what he did. Mordecai, as part of the action, just returned, but Haman. Let me tell you about him. Here we get the nifal for the verb. I think this is an instance of the nifal being a reflexive, so it can be passive or reflexive. Nifal perfect, third masculine singular of the root dachaf. Hastening himself, or hastened himself, to his house. So he went home very quickly. Then we get mourning. Here's, I think, an adverbial modifier describing how he hastened. He hastened to his house mourning, and being covered. Here is the passive participle of the root chafa. Remember that those third hay verbs are originally third vav yods, and here in the passive participles where we see that yod come back. So being covered, and then we get this adverbial modifier head that I think would be something like with reference to the head. So the idea behind this being covered on the head is his head was covered in mourning. So you see this stark difference between Mordecai and Haman. I think Haman is taking it a little on the nose that he was not the one who was honored by the king.